What's that? We're live? News just in. We have received news that Bungie will soon claim full publishing rights to the Destiny franchise. There are reports that it's a move which Activision didn't see coming.
In a move which has stunned philosophy students all across the world, it turns out that Destiny now has free will.
That was the worst joke, but your philosophy lecturers will definitely get that one. Anyway, moving on.
There's worse jokes, trust me.
You thought that was bad? Activision mandated the release of a new Destiny game or expansion every fall, according to Jason Schreier. Without all that peer pressure, though, is it now time for Bungie to sober up?
That's the worst.
Oh,
That's the worst one. Bungie.
We've got more. Let them decide.
Right, it's up to you. The news raises concerns over Activision's stability, so this begs the question, without Bungie, will they be able to bounce back?
In a strange move by pop singer Beyonce, apparently she's looking into acquiring the publishing rights with a view to save Destiny's Child. That's the worst. That's the worst one.
Now that Destiny has moved on, sources report that Activision reps have been visiting strip clubs looking for the name of their next big IP. Bookies have got bets coming in for Crystal, Jasmine, and Roxanne.
Some solid
classic stripper names. I even googled it. Destiny is number 14 on the list of top
popular stripper names. But yes, the jokes are shit. We know that. But we have got gaming news to talk about. So let's talk about the freaking gaming news. If you've not heard by now, you probably have. Activision are in the process of releasing publishing rights. It's been 8 years since the companies began working together back in April 2010, in which was originally a 10-year publishing deal, which they have decided to end less than 2 years early. So it's not all that surprising that it was due to expire anyway, but this has just brought it forward that little bit closer. During the partnership, they've overseen the release of Destiny 1, which came out in 2014, followed by the numerous expansions for that game. Then the sequel, Destiny 2, came out in 2017, followed by its numerous expansions. A point of contention for a lot of the player base is the amount of expansions, how much you pay for the overall game. You pay over $160 or something for the whole experience, which for many is just not good. So Bungie have always owned the rights to the Destiny IP, and Activision were only ever in charge of the publishing, which is significant. Bungie haven't wrestled the rights out of their hands, they always had those rights. Activision tweeted yesterday announcing that Bungie will soon assume the full publishing rights sooner than expected. Bungie wrote their own blog post to explain the situation to the fans as well. Bungie staff apparently cheered in the office when it was announced, popping champagne bottles, according to Jason Schreier of Kotaku. You can imagine them trying to keep a lid on their excitement for while this whole thing was building up, and then as soon as Activision's got their backs turned, they're all like, "Yeah, we're out of it. We're out from under the cloud." So after this was announced, news in that Activision stock has fallen around 6.5% out of hours since the announcement overnight. So that's a huge chunk, right? And I know stocks are down. A lot of people saying that a lot of stocks are down in the industry from like mid 2018. Although that has to be tempered by the fact that a lot of technology stocks are down as well. Apple, Microsoft, Google and Samsung have all dropped stock prices since around October last year. A lot of people saying, "Oh, this is the gaming crash we've all been waiting for," and cheering and all that stuff. But, hang on to your horses. It's got to be taken into context. The whole of the industry, technology industry, is suffering. But going from around 50, which is the stock price, down to like 46 or something, whatever it was, which Activision fell yesterday, it is significant because they definitely don't want stocks to go down any further. They were at around 80 back at the beginning of last year, or the early part of last year. So it doesn't seem to be getting any better stock-wise for Activision, that is for sure. So Blizzard Battle.net have said that they will support the game into the future, so the service will not be disrupted during the transition, which is great news for fans. That's what they wanted to hear, right?
Yeah, you don't want to be playing your favourite game and then just poof, gone because
the support's gone. Yeah, because there's no money left.
Because the parents
they're moving out. Yeah, exactly, and they're moving on to other things. That's not happening. Bungie have stated that they definitely be supporting.
Because despite its flaws, it does have a very dedicated fan base.
It does. It's a game that people just want. I've got so much faith in. I've got so much faith in the franchise, but they just need a little bit of like cast iron good stuff, right? Because they're just getting all these promises, and the game is enjoyable by many means, but they just kept getting shat on. It's like, give us something good. And then this Forsaken expansion, the latest one, came out, and we're like, yes, this is kind of what we want, guys. And then Bungie were like, okay, we've learned our lesson, this is what you want, okay, finally. But hopefully they can go forward now, because it's not common that publishers release these types of deals early, and it's very uncommon actually for a developing team to retain the rights to their IP, and I think this should happen more often, because how many times do we hear that a developer like EA or wherever have acquired a studio with all the rights, and then they end up just folding them because they've got no place for them.
You hear it in music all the time. People like artists, bands and singers and whatever will be with their record label, and they're stifled, they've got to do it a certain way, then they break away, and they might not have that backing, financially it's not going to sell as many millions, but their artistic integrity and all that, they feel much better because they can do what they want. They've got all this extra creative freedom without someone looking over their shoulder.
That's it. It's the creative freedom which is at stake here for Activision, and that for Bungie, sorry, and that's why they're cheering, right? They've got this creative freedom back, and they feel like unrestrained, because if they are being mandated to release content every fall or whatever, according to Jason Schreier, then that's not a creative place to be in. You have to be creative within these confines, and that's not true creative freedom unless you like to work under the pressure of having a deadline like that. But there you go, they don't have to bound down to them any longer. And you saying earlier that, wouldn't it be great if they were able to be honest?
If any one of these deals falls apart or people leave companies or whatever, it'd be wonderful if one day someone's just like, oh yeah, I left because it was shit.
Yeah, because they were shit.
They were just getting shafted left, right, and centre.
That would be awful, because potential suitors in the future, potential publishers would say, hang on a minute, they tend to shit where they live when it comes to this type of thing. So they'd have to avoid them. Your reputation would go down the pan if that happened. So when Bungie negotiated the deal, they obviously needed financial backing in the beginning from Activision, and that's the security that they granted them. But now the IP is popular and recognizable, and people know Destiny. If you're not seen it, then the common folk, it's not as mainstream as something like Call of Duty, for example, but Destiny is one of the ones that has had a lot of marketing, and people recognise to a certain extent. So it's a lot easier for Bungie to go forward now, thinking how they're going to self-publish and make money off this franchise, because they've already got their foot in the door in terms of getting the word out.
They've got brand identity, and when you say Destiny to a gaming person, a gamer, or someone aware of that sort of thing, they know what you mean.
Most people know it, yeah. So the brand identity is strong. So in the wake of it, Phil Spencer has actually tweeted a message of support to Bungie, and this is what he said: looking forward to a very bright future working with one of my favourite independent studios on one of my favourite franchises. Excited to see how they continue to grow and evolve Destiny. So what does that mean? Looking forward to a very bright future working with one of my favourite independent studios. He's going to be working with them. So that's a bit of a clue. There's something going on there, right?
And does he mean Xbox? Because obviously Xbox run Destiny just like PlayStation. Or does he mean Microsoft? And Microsoft are looking to reclaim Bungie, because they had them.
Yeah, they worked together in the past with Halo.
With Halo, massive franchise. And then Bungie went off and did their own thing with Activision. But now maybe they're coming home to roost.
That is the question. Because they have worked in the past. And Microsoft have been greedy. They're gobbling up all these development studios at the end of last year, because they're growing this portfolio of studios, and they're going into the future with we're going to bring you some great games. They've got huge, Obsidian. They've got some really big studios now.
Ninja Theory, loads of them.
They've got enough, right? But Phil Spencer isn't sated enough. He's going. Is this him going after Bungie? Is this laying the platform to taking them on? So that's the question raised up. However, in the Bungie blog post, Bungie made their intentions pretty clear by saying, and quote, "There is still much to learn as we grow as an independent global studio." So that, at the very least, implies that their intention right now is to grow as an independent and go it alone and do it, which makes sense, because like we said, The Destiny IP doesn't need any marketing. It will market itself at this point. So I would guess that they're looking to see how it goes on their own before they look to get into bed with someone like Microsoft or Phil Spencer. It would make sense, right?
And they're in a very unique position. A few other devs are in this kind of place now, where it's like AAA, but indie at the same time, because they are an indie studio. They run it themselves and they do it off their own back. But because they're so big, they have the budget and brand awareness and all that of a typical AAA publisher and studio.
I think AAA denotes the amount of money that goes into marketing and stuff. So they're not technically AAA anymore.
Not technically.
So whatever release comes next might not have the AAA production values because there's no marketing and whatever. So they're just like that step below AAA and that weird place in between indie and AAA, which nobody has a decent term for, name for.
Double A, but like, what does that mean?
It means it's a battery, right? Yeah, so there we go. That's where it's left it. Those is our thoughts. But this is obviously comes after a year of bad press for big corporate AAA studios like EA and Bethesda, right?
Yeah, it's been. I mean, we just said the stocks are all down, and then EA have been taking hits. People are upset about Battlefield 5, Bethesda. Innumerable reasons in recent months for their kind of.
It feels like there's a growing movement of support for these independent. The turning of developers away from these big, huge corporations that tend to end up in bad games or reasonable, serviceable games, but with horrible monetization practices like microtransactions and loot boxes and stuff like that. So a lot of the community is going to be cheering at this, definitely, that's for sure. And hopefully, this kind of might pave the way for more developers to do that in future if they've got the rights to their own IP, which they definitely. What this says is that if you are a development team, I hope Obsidian have retained the rights to everything. I hope Obsidian retain the rights to their new IPs going forward, because if Microsoft owns that shit, who knows what happens down the line? It's writing's on the wall, right?
But hopefully with Bungie making a move like this, it's going to echo what fans have been saying for years, and we're sick of big budget microtransaction shitfests.
Yeah.
And how we're saying, so many devs are out of touch. EA, they don't really know what people want. Blizzard with the whole phones thing. But now if a studio like Bungie are doing it, who are quite a household name among gamers these days, if they're doing it, that's showing that they're on the same wavelength as most of the gaming community.
There's a good it definitely shows that maybe they are. That's for sure. And I think that we shouldn't underplay Bungie's role in the problems that Destiny has had as a franchise, because obviously they've been complicit in every decision that's been made. Maybe they didn't push back enough on Activision. If it was Activision putting their pressure on to do these expansions and to segment player bases or whatever they do with these games as a service, but paid expansions, which I think is a bad idea to begin with. So Bungie do have their own responsibilities in terms of the timeline of Destiny and the problems that's caused. So let's not say that it's all Activision's fault. No. And this is the proof in the pudding, right? Let's see how this pans out, and let's see whether Bungie can course correct the ship and sail into steadier waters, if you want to use that analogy. So it's obvious to us why Bungie, that's the name of my dog, Benji. Don't know why. It's obvious to us why Benji wants the other bone, because he likes he's a dog. Anyway, it's obvious why Bungie want to split from Activision, but the question for us is, why would Activision want to tear ties with Bungie sooner rather than let the terms of the contract break? Why would they want to break the deal early rather than just see it out? Because it's only another year and a half for the 10 years to expire. So a couple of things that spring to mind is maybe they've taken the Destiny IP as far as they think they can, or maybe they've lost faith in the IP. Apparently, Forsaken, according to Jason Schreier, had not lived up to Activision's sales expectations last year. The publisher said during an earnings call. So that was reported, so obviously it's not meeting sales expectations. They're looking at it as like, oh, there's only a year and a half left. Maybe we cut ties and maybe divert resources into something else which has got more long-term appeal, right? That makes more sense for them.
And the Destiny brand as a whole, it's done very well, but just not good enough for Activision because their charts and spreadsheets and stuff are so insane. It has to do like ridiculous numbers that no game ever does.
Yeah.
Despite being very successful and making lots of money, it's not like it's broke even or anything. But there's a hell of a profit. It's just not as much as they want.
Yeah, exactly. And their return on the investment that they put into Destiny might be better served. They might, it's a numbers game for them. If they put 10 million into Bungie, they're not going to see the returns for that 10 million as they might if they put 10 million into a new IP or something else like that. So it's all about like risk and reward, returns versus expectation, all that sort of shit, business talk and all that bollocks. So that's what we think about it. And I think we've just about covered it. Those are our reaction and thoughts to this story, plus our quirky, shitty jokes in the beginning.
Let us know if you've got any more.
Yeah, obviously. Let us know your quirky, shitty puns and all sorts down in the comment section of this video. If you've enjoyed it, hit the thumbs up button. If you want to support the channel and the content that we bring, head over to patreon.com/prettygoodgaming. Thanks for watching, everybody, and we will see you again. I'm sure we will, because it's in our destiny, right?
No, you're not having a salute for that. I'm out.
It's done.